Okay, so now let's just take an everyday example. Okay, so this is all of us are familiar with this in some form or the other. Okay, so this is basically delivery of food. I want to order from a restaurant. What are the options I have? Okay, so today you can see the icon. So we will start with what image you see here. So you can see a person actually gets on the phone here, okay, and places an order. The person at the restaurant takes the order, okay, and then the order goes to the kitchen. Okay, from the kitchen, once the food is ready, it's given to the delivery person. The delivery person delivers it and hands it over to the customer, and value is somewhere created. So the first question I have is there a process in this? Can you see the process?
Yes.
There is a process. So when we take the phone and call, or when we use Swiggy or Zomato, we don't see the whole process, but we know that we do something on our phone. We hit the order button, and then we track someone, and half an hour later food comes to us. Okay, but there is a process which is in place, or it's initiated when we start that, when we hit the order button. Okay, so that process is important to see. Now, who are the stakeholders or customers in this process?
Everyone, directly from the individual.
Actually, everyone is there as stakeholder. Everyone gets some value out of this process. Okay, but obviously, in many ways, we look at the customer, the end customer, as the person who gets value. But in between, there are customers, and all of them they get handed over something from A to B, and that's the in-process customer. Okay, there is an end customer, but there's also in-process customers. Okay, let's go to question 3. What is the value at each stage of the process? Let's look at the end customer. Is there value added to the customer at each stage?
Yes.
What? So if I take stage 1 or stage 2, let's say, what is the value to the customer? Or what would be customer satisfaction in stage 2? What is value? How would the value be compromised?
Whatever he is thinking to have,
Right.
the same item is there or not, or some new item which may be new to him,
Right.
maybe introduced by that. Because instead of that, you can order this.
Right.
So like that.
So yes, agreed. That is going to one level higher. I'm even looking at basic of, is the person entering what I ordered?
Yes.
Okay. Am I communicated clearly to the person? And you can see here, this is being done through a phone call. If you have done phone call ordering before, I have found that out of 10 times, there will be at least 2-3 times when there is some error on the other side. Either number of items are less, or there's a slightly different item that comes. Okay, so my value, if I assume that my value here is getting the right item ordered, one, or there is even another problem in value here, you can see potentially the customer is looking at the screen to see the menu. Okay, so I'm going into the website of the restaurant, looking at the menu, and then placing the order. How can I improve value at this stage? Simple.
Directly ask what are the options.
Should I directly ask, or are we already using a process which improves value today? If I go into Swiggy or Zomato, I don't have to call anyone, right?
Yes. Automatic.
Everything is the information is available to me. So I have given more value to the customer by making all the information available at the customer's fingertips without having to contact anyone, so that's also value, right? Then what are the chances that there will be a communication error and I make a mistake?
Very minimal.
Eliminate.
Yeah, eliminate.
The only error is if I press something wrong. Okay, and that is up to me. So we are basically almost taking this person outside, the telephone operator outside out of this process. Okay, and at the same time we have added value to the customer, because the customer's almost going to get error-free ordering as far as from that value perspective. There are several other values also, but from that value perspective, they're going to get error-free ordering. What is then, if we go here, is there value in the cooking step? What is the value to the customer here?
And here, whatever he is asking, whether the same food,
Correct.
same
One
taste.
is the same thing. So there can be miscommunication in every step. So that is one. What else is the value here?
They are invisible customers actually.
No, they are invisible. But what? So if I look at this as a value stream and I look at the end customer, what value does this step add? We said this ordering steps value is to make sure that the right quantity, the right thing, price is also known. Okay, all of this is now transparent in the current form of ordering. In the earlier form of ordering, even this was fairly advanced, right? I could take a phone and call and someone would deliver. But current form we see is even more advanced. What is the key value in the kitchen?
Within the time,
Time.
within the like,
What about the taste?
taste.
Yeah, that's the core, right? So I can you can give me the right order, right this, right that, but if it tastes bad, then the whole thing is absolute. So to me, this is a very, very, very important step that adds value to the whole process.
Actually, it will suppress the hunger.
It will, if it is hunger, that's one thing, but is it taste? Then you have to look at quantity and quality,
Both. That's right.
right? But then again, so if you look at, so then it depends on your customer, right? Do you want quantity or do you want quality? But I think there is some amount of quality which all of us expect out of something, and not just quantity. So this is a key step, but you can see obviously value is added here. Is it only processing and time value? So there's time, okay, there's quality and there's quantity. Time means the kitchen has to operate in a reasonable time. Then there are, food desk temperature, spiciness, we are all putting that as quality.
Okay, yeah. I think the first part I understood, sir. When you say the time, that is there actually, it is evident. But the second one, the taste or quality.
So can the cook give
are we comparing it with the feedback what the customers going?
No. I'm only comparing it that, for example, if you're going to make a product, you can make the product fast. Don't worry about food. I'm talking about another product. But I make a product which is damaged. So value has not been added, correct?
Yeah.
It has to go for rework.
Suppose in paratha, the paratha is teared out.
That's right. Yeah.
Like that.
Okay, so I put too much salt in the food. I can't eat it. Or I give you a pizza which it's not cooked. Quality is bad. Okay, so that is also value.
So the situation was same before, right? Even someone is ordering.
No. We are only looking here as to what is the value added in the kitchen.
Oh, okay.
I'm not saying earlier versus now. We are only looking at what is the value added in the kitchen. Okay. Now we come to the delivery person gets it. What is the value added in delivery?
Actually, he will give the food to
Once
the
again, the same dimension of time. So
now it's again time. Once a person starts, I want this thing to occur in a reasonable time. There is value. There is already value that I don't have to go and pick it up. Somebody is bringing it to me, giving it to me. There's definite value. But that value is enhanced if it's given in reasonable time. And you can see several of the apps say if it's not within so much time, we will we'll refund, or we will give you a discount, or we will do this, because they understand that value has been compromised and you need to get this. And ultimately you get delivered, you want a reasonable service. So, here you want when we again do an app based ordering, we ask how the service was, delivery was, all that is value. So we have looked at this question. Okay, we have looked at delivery of value through each of the steps. If we look at now who is responsible for the improvement of value,
ultimately the customer.
Is the customer responsible for the kitchen? We'll come back to this question. Okay, we'll come back to this question. Can the customer improve his or her own value?
Sometimes.
In a way, yes, but in which step here? So now if I have this value stream, now the first question is, you can see value in each step.
Yes.
You can see the process.
Yes.
You can see the value stream. Correct?
Yes, sir.
That is the intent of this discussion, to be able to see how value is added in a value stream. Now, in this value stream, how can a customer increase the value of their own value? What is the role of the customer?
Based on the order what they receive in the last, so they can
give feedback. That is one part, but that doesn't increase the value in this process.
Whether they have ordered actually the correct thing.
If they have ordered the correct thing, it's a responsibility of others in the process to give me what I ordered.
In the case, the part of whoever involved in the value stream is everyone is going to be responsible.
That's correct. Okay, that's exactly. Now, when we say who is responsible for improvement, if I look at the kitchen, who is responsible for ensuring value in the kitchen?
The cook, the restaurant owner,
the cook, the kitchen manager, all of that. Okay, who is responsible for ensuring that delivery is on time?
Delivery boy.
Delivery boy. Okay, whatever path he chooses. Now, if I ask the cook to make a process improvement for this whole value stream, can the cook do it?
No.
No. No. The cook has no control on the delivery boy. The cook has no control on the ordering. The cook says, no, I'm going to do an online platform for ordering. No, he doesn't. He or she doesn't have that. Okay, so this is when you say who is responsible for the improvement. The cook might be responsible for the micro level stream in the cooking part, or the delivery boy might be responsible to ensure that timely delivery is done, or as to the best possible. But there is top management which is responsible for this whole stream, and they are the ones who can then look at it from the macro perspective. Okay, so I think the example kind of illustrates what some of the concepts which we discussed earlier.
Yes.
Like Zomato or
anything. Yeah.
what they are looking at as a process.
They are looking at it as a process. I mean, why is that? You can take several examples today. Even if you take conventional taxi ride versus Uber or Ola. Okay, all of these have value streams in it, and these streams have been optimized not only at the micro level but also at the macro level. And you can see all these apps come up with improvements. Now, we can go on discussing this. Okay, there's so much. Which is so dynamic, and it's interesting to see that people are actually using this. Okay,
the contribution at the macro level is extremely high. The involvement of Zoho
Correct. So if you have macro level changes, the improvements can be high, the savings can be high, value additions can be much. Okay. Now here is this question. Another question: What do you think is process time here, and what do you think is lead time?
The process time will be different from each process. There are several processes.
Right.
And
there are several processes. Yes.
And for lead time also, it depends on the previous process.
Right. So I can have two things. One is I can say process. So basically within a process, my process time is how much time does it actually take to cook the item. Okay. The lead time will be when does the order come in and when does the cooked item go. That is a total amount of time it's spent in the kitchen. The cooking time is just the process time. Okay. If I look at it from the whole process perspective, the lead time is from when I place the order
when I get the order
to when I get the order. Okay, and the process time is not visible to the customer, but the amount of time each person actually spent adding value to your product.
Yes.
Okay, so what so if you take process time and lead time, what do you think will be the fraction which will be greater first of all?
Lead time.
Lead time will be greater than process time, and a lot of times you will find that process time is only a fraction of the lead time. Okay, so this is where
you have to reduce the lead time actually.
Yeah, you should be able to reduce the lead time. Okay, so so you have process time plus X is equal to lead time. What is X?
Improvement.
Ideal time.
Waste.
Waste. Yes.
It's basically waste. Okay, so process time plus X is equal to lead time. So that X is the waste in the process, and that should also be, we should try to eliminate. Okay. So if we go back to this figure, we talked about, when we look at system level, there were, a lot of things, when we want to look at it from, I'm just trying to put inter-process, or I would say inter-task. Each task, if I want to look at it from a big picture. Here is within task. Within a task. Okay? And obviously this is not just inter-task, but it's also integration across tasks. My data flows, this, that, all of it would be at a senior management or a system.
More or less system.
Right. Okay, so it's again important to have these two views. Improvement in either one is always welcome, but you remember the rowing example? Over improving on one does not help the overall system. Okay.